Hi, welcome to the Georgia Department of Education Orchestra Community. My name is Shawn Morton and I'm your Orchestra Community Moderator. So for this series of webinars, we're going to talk about creating a positive orchestra program culture. This is one of my favorite topics, something I enjoy so much. So hopefully we'll have some great conversations in our discussion posts as we think about really how to set up a culture in your program that is going to leave a lasting impression on your students. So we're going to talk first about how we can build relationships in our program to create that culture. I want to start with this quote by Maya Angelou. She said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." I really, really love this quote. As a teacher and as a former student, I think we've all been students in our lives. We can think back and think of teacher who either made us feel really great or who made us feel really awful. And this is a great reminder to me that our students, while I would love for them to really remember to play those extensions sometimes or to fix the bowing pattern or whatever we're working on, what they're going to really walk away most with from the end of their time in our orchestra programs is really how we made them feel overall. It's that overall encompassing experience. They may not remember the day-to-day lessons, but they're going to remember those touch points and really how we made them feel. If we made them feel valued, if we made them feel part of something. And it's such a good reminder to me to make sure that I am attentive to that and that I'm cognizant of how I make students feel. Because I want students to come back and say, this was my favorite class. This program made a difference for me. So I really like this quote, and hopefully it's means something to you as well, because it's really just a great reminder of how powerful our words and actions are with students. So I'm going to start with what I think is probably one of the most important parts of creating a good culture, and it's starting with a positive teacher attitude, which I know as teachers, the last few years have just been crazy. I think all of us have experienced such a range of emotions with COVID and all the different concerns, whether you were in person or digital or hybrid. We have seen some things, we have experienced some things. We have experienced the stress that students are under, that we are under, and it's been hard in our communities. And so sometimes it's really hard to have a good attitude when so much has felt out of our control. So one thing I've really tried to focus on this year is to control the controllables and to just let go of everything else. And when I focus on those controllables, it's a lot easier to be positive. I can't control my district. I can't always control what's going on in the world, but I can control what happens in this classroom. For the most part, I have the final say. I can make sure the environment here is positive, optimistic, pleasant, fun, energetic. And when I can control those things, it makes life a lot easier. And I just let the other stuff go. I think if we can really remember what we're here to do and enjoy just what we can have control over, then it makes it a much better experience for us and our students. We definitely will transfer our attitudes and our feelings towards our students to them. They will mirror our interactions. So if we communicate well with students and are kind and communicate with positive delivery, we will get that back usually. It is very unusual if I'm standing in the hall and I'm talking to a student kindly. It would be really weird for them to generally not speak the same way back to me. People mirror behaviors. And so if we want students to mirror back our positivity, then we have to be willing to give that positivity. In general, I think we want to work towards creating a sense of belonging, and we're going to talk about some ideas for that as we go along in this presentation. I think it's really important that we're authentic with our students. Students are very good at spotting a phony a mile away. So, be yourself, share with them. Clearly, we do not want to share some things or overshare with students, but, laugh with your students. Tell them about the one time your dog ran you down the road, or tell them about when you were in high school orchestra, or, tell them something funny or share with them. You can also say to your students, man, I am so tired today too, but you know what? We're all going to get up and let's stretch together before we play because I'm tired too. Be human with your students and share with them the good things too. Celebrate with them. Be part of their world so that it's a better experience for both of you. And lead by example. I think it's important that if I want my students to talk positively about the orchestra and all that, I have to also talk positively about it too. So what we do is what we will get back. Smile at your students. This year has been challenging, and last year wearing masks most of the year. But, we can smile with our eyes, we can smile with our demeanor, but most of us hopefully now are able to really smile at kids. It's really hard to not smile at someone if they're smiling at you directly. So, just smile at kids. If someone's having a bad day, walk by and say, "Hey, are you okay?" Check in on kids. Avoid sarcasm and any kind of derogatory language. I know a lot of people use sarcasm as humor. There's a place for some light sarcasm, sparingly, I think, but in general, when we become sarcastic or derogatory or negative, that's what the students become. And students already are hard on themselves and are pretty sarcastic in the older ages. So I don't think we want to feed that monster. I think if we can generally keep it light, keep it funny, sometimes I'll make silly, sarcastic jokes like, "Oh my gosh, that was so out of tune. The audience is going to throw up." And, they know I'm being silly because I'm being so dramatic with it. But again, use it sparingly and carefully because we don't want to ever make the kids think that that's what we really think. We really set the standard for how students will treat each other and respect each other. And so if we're respectful of them and we treat them with a certain amount of decorum, they hopefully will do the same. Many students come to school now not with the right training on how to treat one another, so that may rely on us to create that training. It may take you sitting down and really establishing what are the parameters in your classroom. How are you going to expect students to act? Your school culture can affect that. Our school has a really positive climate full of student leadership, but that's not the case everywhere. So you may have to really build that into your school, into your classroom culture. You may really have to spend some time doing some more of those SEL experiences to get kids to treat each other kindly. I really like this quote. A positive culture is one where the teacher has high expectations for each individual student. Positive teachers don't just see students where they are, they see the student that they can become. One of the coolest parts of being an orchestra teacher or being a music teacher is we get to see the growth of students year over year. Seeing a ninth grader when they come in, a ninth grade boy particularly is like an octopus in a net bag, right? They're just all over the place, limbs flying, kind of goofy. And watching them progress to the time they're a senior, and many of them have matured to be young men and young ladies of great stature and just great maturity. And watching kids really go through those transitions of growing up and maturing is such a blessing for us to be a part of. And when we can have the vision to help kids realize their potential, I think that really helps us create that positive culture. And even if you're a middle school teacher, there is such a big difference between a sixth grader at the beginning of the year and an eighth grader at the end of the year. And seeing and helping kids make that transition through middle school is so powerful and so important to help creating a good culture in your program. So in your classroom, some things that you can do. Use words that invite connection. We, us, all, together, everyone. I know teachers use all kinds of community words. Those kind of words really help create, again, just we are in this together. It's all of us, all of you, we. It just creates this environment of all of you. Create a learning space that's inviting and inclusive. Representation has always mattered. It matters more than ever now. The last several years have taught us how much it matters, how important it is to our communities and our students. Your students should look around the room and see themselves reflected in the room. Know your population. If they look at the bulletin board, is there someone on the bulletin board, if you have a bunch of pictures, that looks like them? Make sure your students see themselves in the room around them. Does your room have positive messages? Is it colorful, clean, bright? My office is not clean at all, but my classroom is very clean, very bright, very beautiful and inviting space. Many of us teach in spaces that are less than ideal, but we can always gussy it up, slap a little lipstick on the pig, and make it look great. We have a weird post in the middle of our classroom, so we put the cutest posters on the post. You just find ways to make it fun and engaging. Because again, if that learning space feels inviting, if that learning space feels like it's theirs, if it feels like it represents them, they're going to be more likely to want to be in that space. So listen to your kids when they aren't playing. And I mean, like, listen to what they're talking about. Listen to what they're interested in, what's going on, learn about the kids, see what they, talk about. You learn some things. I always know all the good orchestra tea. But, seriously, when the kids are coming into class, say hello. If they're wearing an Atlanta United shirt, hey, you like Atlanta United? Oh, me too, blah, blah, blah. Did you see the game? You know, Ask them about if they're wearing a cheerleader uniform. Oh, I didn't know you were on the cheer team. What team are you on? Blah blah blah. Talk to the kids. I know it's a little harder middle school teachers because you particularly usually have larger numbers and they need a lot more attention. But even when you're walking around too, you can say, "Hey, I really like your necklace. What's on your on the thing there?" Or you can ask them questions. Just take a second, even if it's 2 kids a day. By the end of the year, hopefully you'll talk to everybody. Just take a minute, get to know those kids. Get them to do some kind of a survey that you can go back and use later, that you can go and read and find out things about the kids. It makes such a difference if we can make a one-on-one connection with each kid. Have a program philosophy. It can be a mission statement or your vision or a simple phrase that you use in your program, but have a philosophy for your program. We have this year, our philosophy has been Duluth United. So, have something that represents your program that's going to make your students feel like they're part of something. Program a diverse variety of music by a diverse variety of composers. We are so fortunate now as orchestra teachers to have a wide range of different types of composers and different styles of music. We owe it to our students to perform a wide variety of literature, a wide variety of styles by a wide variety of composers. There are so many resources now online to find information about diverse composers of the past as well as diverse composers of the present. Please ask for help if you need it from one of your colleagues. I think that's a great point we can talk about in the discussion post. We have so many great resources now. There is no reason we are not programming diverse music for our students. When our students are exposed to great and diverse types of music, then that's going to make us all better. Have clear expectations for student behavior. The one thing about students is they like consistency and predictability. And if students feel like you are unfair or that you let certain students get away with things, or they feel like the rehearsals aren't in control, or they feel like you play favorites, or they feel like you don't enforce rules, that's really a way to quickly destroy program culture. So having those clear expectations for students, creating a predictable space, and creating a predictable structure, those are things that students thrive in. They really thrive in those environments. So this is just a picture of a wall in my classroom. Now you can see my classroom is pretty old. You can probably tell by the ceiling tiles and the paint. But you see we got a big banner up there, some very positive messaging on the posters there, with some variety of people represented. I love some good positive messaging. You can see there on the center on the cow print, and we are big on cows at our school for our fundraiser, or not at our school, really for our orchestra. We do cow patty bingo as our fundraiser, so we have a lot of cow stuff in our room. So you see on the cow bulletin board, I have like a little, like a hard copy Instagram where I post pictures of kids, and those are our orchestra kids up there, so they can go up there and see kids from their class posted up there doing funny things in orchestra, and pictures from prom and graduation and all the events we go to. So I like this because it shows you, you don't have to have elaborate bulletin boards. I have colleagues that are much better at this than me, but this is attractive. It's bright, it's pretty, it's clean and neat. Nothing's falling off. It has good messaging, and it just feels inviting for the students. This is a vinyl. If you haven't tried these are great. It's on the wall there, and it's a vinyl, so it doesn't damage the wall, but you can get great quotes. I really loved this one. I thought the butterflies were very cute. So I put this one up. So many people now have these crickets and stuff, and they can print off vinyls for you. I bought this one on Amazon. and it came in the mail, and I just slapped it up on the wall, easy peasy, and it just makes the room attractive. You can have nice quotes, you can have all kinds of things. This is perfect for us people that are not good at making our own art. So I think this is a great way to add some interest to your room and just something that's attractive and makes students feel like they belong in the room. So some other points to consider: learn your students' names. You know, find out something about them and learn them as quickly as possible. Students want to be considered as part of their group. They want to be seen and they want to be heard. They want to feel valued. No student wants to be the one that you forget their name every day or you mix them up all the time with somebody else. Support your students in their activities outside of music class. Now, I have a huge program. It's really hard to get to everything, but try to find a few things you can go to a year. I cannot go to every event or every sport or but just try to hit some here and there. Or, if you like, I have a co-teacher, so we can split off and do some things. But really try to go to some activities, even if it's popping into 10 minutes of a volleyball practice, or just go by and say hi and see them. Create a spirit of togetherness and cooperation by honoring student input and creativity. Sometimes students like to give a lot of input. It can be tricky. Do it in a way that's going to be comfortable for you as well. So if you're going to solicit input from students, be prepared that some of it may be weird or it may not be what you would do. But find a place that you as a teacher are going to be comfortable relinquishing the reins and giving them that input. For example, we have a big awards banquet every year. The students love to decorate. I could really care less about ever decorating a banquet again in my life. And so that is a place that I'm willing to give up some control, give them that freedom of creativity. They love it. They get so excited. They have a whole theme that it's like a big deal. And you know what? They get ownership then. They create all these like little group chats and all this stuff, and they have kids come in and decorate, and this group is responsible for this part of the cafeteria, and it's a whole thing. And so for me, that's a win-win. It doesn't bother me because I don't want to decorate the cafeteria, and it makes them feel like they have some real power. Maybe you're the kind of person that doesn't like to do programs. So that's something you can help your students with and give them some ownership. Give opportunities for student interaction. Playing music together obviously is a way to interact. You can do musical interaction, break them up into ensembles, break them up into small groups, stand partner activities. Do SEL Fridays, spend 10 minutes on a Friday doing some fun interactive game. Give your students opportunities to talk to their stand partner. Sometimes our rooms can be noisy, but there is such a thing as good noise. Take a minute, let them chat with their neighbor, let them play, just take any number of things. There's so many creative things online. I have decided my brain is old and I'm out of creative ideas. Good thing is I can Google it and come up with 400 creative ideas or text 3 of my other orchestra friends who will tell me something to do. So use those people around you to give them some opportunities to come up with some interactive ideas. Let students know how much you value them and value their effort and presence. This means saying thank you. This means when students do something really well as a group or as a class or as an organization, say thank you. It's so easy to forget to say thank you because I think we get spoiled sometimes. I know I do, that sometimes I forget to say to my kids, hey, thank you. I really appreciate you all being here and all being ready to learn today. I forget sometimes. That's a big ask, but they're all doing it. And, if we can remind ourselves to do that, or when a student runs an errand for me and they come back and I can say, hey, come here, come get a Jolly Rancher. Thanks for doing that for me. Saying thank you goes so far with people, and just letting them know that they're appreciated, that their effort is appreciated, and even their presence. Because sometimes their presence, while you may not think it's a lot, for them, it may be a lot. You don't always know what it took them to get there that day. Greet students as they enter class. Also a great way to practice names. You can say, hey, I just like to stand kind of in the doorway, halfway into the room and halfway out, because I can see what's going on in the room. I can see the hallway. Say hi. Say, what's up? I like your shirt. How's it going? Cool haircut. Oh, is that a new violin case? Just say hi to them as they come in. Know students' comfort levels. And I mean this by some kids are absolutely traumatized if you call on them out in class. So figure out a way to engage them in a different way. Know what kids are comfortable playing for the class. Know what kids are comfortable having attention drawn to them. Know what kids would rather you talk to them individually after class. Just start figuring out who is more comfortable with what, because you don't ever want to embarrass a student. I always feel terrible if that happens, and it's easy for us to do, especially in larger classes. So try to get to know students' comfort levels. Try to find ways to do, activities that are going to equal the playing field for kids. Like if you're going to, you know, do do some sort of playing test, it maybe if you're going to have them play it in class, give the option to submit it online for those kids that don't want to play it in class in front of their peers. Lots of opportunities there. Be careful how you utilize a competitive environment. Students are constantly being faced with being competitive with one another in school now, in their activities. I'm not sure that us fostering that is a good thing all the time. I always tell students if they really want to compete in orchestra, there are so many opportunities for them to do that outside of our school program. I think it can be very disruptive to the orchestra culture when you create that competition inside your program. So, we stopped doing chair placement tests. We reseat and we rotate seating. Um, it's just healthier for everyone. I think for our kids, your situation may be different, but for our kids, I think some of them would like to be more competitive, but great. You go audition for ASYO, you audition for Allstate. Like, there's so many opportunities for them to compete with one another. This is a place where I want them to act as a family and treat each other that way. And when we start fighting over chair placements, it just becomes, well, not great. Provide informative feedback. So when students need correction, or if they need feedback, or you're going to give feedback, make it clear and make it very obvious what you're saying. If you just snap it again, hey, stop that, that's not really going to help. Sometimes proximity is all you need, but if you see so and so doing something wrong, just walk over to them and say, hey, come see me at the end of class. And then say to that kid, your cell phone is out every day. We've got to come up with a plan. Here's what we're going to do. Or, just be informative and clear and work it out in a way that is not going to be confrontational, but that is going to be very clear and informative for them. Create a space where mistakes are valued as part of the learning process. This is hard for adults. It's even harder for students. What we do all day is mistake and error detection. And so it's sort of like whack-a-mole sometimes when we're like, oh, seconds. Oh, stop for a minute. We got to fix that. Oh, violas. Oh, cellos, So we're always playing, corrective whack-a-mole. But we have to make sure students know, like, this is the place to make a mistake. Like, if you're doing something and you say, I have asked someone to demonstrate and they do it wrong, go, I'm so glad you did it like that. Can you do it like that again? Okay. Yeah, I want you to notice, like, Stephen is really doing that over the fingerboard, and that's a great, you know, um, piano sound. But what are we trying to get? A forte sound. So now, Stephen, can you move your bow closer to the bridge? Turn it into a positive and let them see that that mistake is not a bad thing, that mistakes are just merely learning opportunities. And when you make a mistake, own it. I make mistakes frequently every day. And so I always say things like, blah, teacher fail, let me try again. Or, okay, tell me what I did wrong, because I know I did something wrong. So you all identify it now. So let it be okay for them to correct you in a way that, again, that's positive. You don't want the kids like, oh, you're wrong all the time. But again, creating that give and take with them. Create traditions in your program. Create activities or fun events that are going to be traditions. We do a senior song every year where every senior does a senior bow. Huge tradition. Have annual events. Have spirit wear in your program. Cute spirit wear. Admin love it if you bring them spirit wear, or your volunteers. Create rituals in your program that are unique to your program. Whether it's, during COVID, one of our rituals became morning stretches. We did stretches at the beginning of every class period. And we used the same thing every day, and the kids knew that music. And still, if we turn on that music, they freak out because they know that's our stretching music. Use team building activities and use social media to celebrate students and communicate your positive program culture. So this is my classroom. You can see it's very bright. It's very colorful. You can see the huge cow spots on the wall back there because we do our fundraiser cow patty bingo. Those got commissioned to get painted on the wall. We have student artwork displayed in the wall. We have some paper mache heads. The students here are doing an activity called Orchestra Speed Dating, where they're getting to know each other. They're chatting with each other. You can see this is a really large class. They're all engaged, having fun, talking to one another. Really fun activity. This is some social media posts that we've done. This is my co-teacher, Dr. Lemons. You see he's got on an easily distracted by cows. The kids loved this t-shirt, so we put it on our social media during COVID when all the kids weren't here at school, and we showed them Dr. Lemons' cool new cow shirt. The picture next to him is of a graduate of ours, Lindsay Sharp, who is now playing in the Chicago Civic Orchestra. Chicago Civic Orchestra actually posted this picture of her when she joined the Chicago Civic Orchestra, and we actually reposted it on our social media and celebrated our student Lindsay Sharp as she was named to the Chicago Civic Orchestra. Here's some pictures of some spirit wear. We give every 8th grader a Property of Duluth High School Orchestra t-shirt, every 8th grade orchestra student, let me say, with their graduation year on it, and that's their first piece of orchestra spirit wear. You can see one of our chamber orchestra hoodie designs we used this year for our GMEA trip. We love some good spirit wear and some good hoodie design, so we try to come up with different shirts and designs and things every year when we're traveling or have events. These are great for our students, and it's just a walking advertisement.